There comes a moment when your silence transforms. What was once preparation becomes action. For you, the chosen ones, this is the pivotal point, the breaking of the silence. This is not merely an event, but a declaration, a statement to the world that your time for quiet endurance is past, and the time for impact has begun. Breaking the silence is a deliberate act. You don't act out of impulse or desperation, but out of certainty. This moment symbolizes the culmination of your preparation, where the strength forged in quiet resilience is finally unleashed. It's a turning point that shifts the balance of power, where you reveal the truth, purpose, and identity that you've been cultivating all along. When you break the silence, the first thing it triggers is fear. Those who underestimated you are thrown into panic. They laughed at your quiet strength, dismissing it as insignificance. But now they are forced to confront a reality they never anticipated. Your silence, once mocked, becomes the storm they cannot weather. This is why your breaking of silence terrifies them. It reveals the power you've built patiently and meticulously in their absence. Think of the most powerful forces in the world, forces that move unnoticed until they cannot be ignored. The roots of a tree grow deep and wide underground before they ever break the surface, anchoring the towering trunk that will stand for centuries. You are like this in your silence. You endure challenges that would break others. You study, refine, and build yourself in ways unseen, so when your moment comes, you are unshakable. Then there is controlled timing, an art only mastered by those with vision and patience. You know that the world often rewards loudness and urgency, but true power lies in waiting. Like a chess master planning 10 moves ahead, you assess every possibility, every risk, and every opportunity. You act not when others expect it, but when the moment is right. Your timing becomes the sharp edge of your strategy, cutting through distractions and opposition. The most terrifying tool in your arsenal is the element of surprise. Those who doubt you, those who dismiss your silence as irrelevance, will never see you coming. They mistake your quiet for submission. They think their power is secure. But when you break your silence, their confidence will crumble. You will show them that all their noise was nothing compared to what you have been building in secret. Have you ever noticed how the most profound shifts in history often started in silence? The chosen ones, what happens when the silent emperor finally rises? The silent emperor is more than just a metaphor. It represents those who endure in the shadows, quietly building their influence, wisdom, and strength. These are the individuals who face adversity with patience, who strategize while others shout, and who understand that the right moment can redefine their destiny. For you, the silent moments are not wasted. They are your forge. In the stillness, you are sharpening your mind, building your foundation, and waiting for the exact moment when the world cannot ignore you any longer. Every trial you've faced, every tear you've shed, every small victory in the shadows, it all matters. When you finally break the silence, you will not only shake your enemies, you will redefine the world around you. History remembers those who harnessed these truths, and one of the greatest examples is Harriet Tubman. She moved in silence, leading countless enslaved individuals to freedom through the Underground Railroad. Every step was deliberate, every choice calculated, every risk measured. Her silence wasn't compliance, it was brilliance. While others underestimated her, she was reshaping lives and defying a system that seemed unbreakable. When she acted, she dismantled the lie of invincibility that her oppressors clung to. History is filled with such figures, people who rose from obscurity to reshape their world, and today, their legacy continues in you. Silence is often misunderstood. People mistake it for hesitation, weakness, or a lack of purpose. But for you, the chosen ones, silence is none of these. Your silence is your strength, your preparation, and your shield. It is the quiet storm before the moment when you rise and transform everything in your path. Your greatest weapon is silent strength. Now, I want you to declare your resolve in the comments. Let's all drop the line, "My silence is strategy." Show the world that patience and vision will always win. If you haven't already, you may feel guided to subscribe to Obsidian so that you don't miss future spiritual upgrades. When you break your silence, it sends a shockwave of fear through those who once believed they had power over you. They built their confidence on the assumption that your quiet strength was passivity, mistaking your stillness for surrender. But when you rise, their illusion of dominance crumbles, and their first reaction is unmistakable panic. Your enemies relied on the false notion that you were incapable of leading or challenging their control. They thrived in dismissing you because they could not see the depth of your preparation. The moment your silence shatters, their world begins to unravel. In their panic, they realize their power was never as secure as they imagined. It was a fragile structure built on the shaky ground of overconfidence and the denial of your strength. What terrifies them most is their loss of control, and their systems, alliances, dominance, and the illusion of invulnerability they once projected begin to crumble. They believed they knew you, understood your limits, and could predict your moves. But your rise exposes the truth: their power was built on misjudgment, and they have no defense against what they failed to anticipate. When you rise, your enemies will feel this same vulnerability. Your silence forces them to confront the reality they've been avoiding, that their strength was never built to withstand a force as deliberate and unyielding as yours. Your actions reveal their weaknesses, their reliance on manipulation, fear, and overconfidence. They are exposed, and that exposure terrifies them more than the actual loss of power. Think of Nelson Mandela. During his years of silent imprisonment, the apartheid regime, so entrenched in its power, underestimated what was growing in that quiet. They couldn't see how every day of his silence was strengthening his resolve and galvanizing a movement. When Mandela emerged, it wasn't just his voice or actions that dismantled their grip on power, it was the quiet storm he had cultivated over years. His rise exposed the regime's fragility, leaving it vulnerable and chaotic. But this moment isn't just about fear, it's about the ripple effect. When you rise, you inspire others. Those who witness your act of breaking silence are moved, emboldened to question their own loyalties and beliefs. Onlookers, once indifferent or even opposed to you, will find themselves drawn to your strength and clarity. Your rise will not only overcome enemies but also awaken new allies, creating bonds that amplify your purpose. For you, breaking the silence is about more than making noise. It's about creating resonance. It's about ensuring that your words and actions carry power and purpose. This is your rebirth, a shedding of the quiet persona to embrace the full magnitude of who you are. When your silence breaks, it doesn't just terrify your enemies, it galvanizes those ready to follow you. It's the moment you step into your rightful place, leaving no doubt about your strength or destiny. History shows us this truth through the life of Jesus Christ. For years, his presence was humble and understated. He walked among people, quietly teaching and healing. But when he broke the silence, when he spoke boldly, challenged authority, and ultimately rose after his crucifixion, the world shifted. His humility and quiet preparation were never weaknesses, but the groundwork for a revolution. His breaking of silence didn't just inspire faith, it forever altered the course of history. Now, I want you to listen very closely. They say the truth will set you free, but most can't handle it. For the chosen ones in the obsidian inner order, it's not just the truth, it's the whole cosmic download. No sugarcoating, no escape. This week we bring you a story you'll never hear on YouTube, a chosen one who broke free from the clutches of a satanic cult and found redemption in the divine. It's raw, it's real, and it's exactly the kind of revelation that would make an archon sweat. In the inner order, we don't just talk, we gather. Weekly calls with over 400 ascended souls dive deep into the secrets they don't want you to know. We're not for the faint of heart, and we're definitely not for muggles. I don't always share my secrets, but when I do, it's in the obsidian inner order. Click the link in the description. Stay chosen, my friends. Below is the reordered text. The paragraphs have been reorganized to ensure a coherent narrative flow, maintaining the emotional arc and message of the original while adhering to your requirements. Your rise is not a solitary act, it is a call to arms for others like you. You do not hoard your power but share it, igniting a collective awakening among those who have also been underestimated and oppressed. This isn't about you alone, it's about all of you together. You form a force that your enemies cannot contain or predict. While your enemies were busy underestimating you, you were quietly building something extraordinary in the shadows where they could not see. You laid the foundation for an empire. But this isn't an empire of fear or manipulation like theirs, it's an empire of truth, built on justice and authenticity, a reflection of the strength you've cultivated during your silence. Your unpredictability is another layer of fear. For so long you operated in stillness, unnoticed and unchallenged. But now, your deliberate, strategic rise has thrown them into disarray. They cannot anticipate your next move because your mastery of silence has taught you how to move when they least expect it. What terrifies them even more is the shifting of loyalties. Allies who once stood with your enemies begin to see through the cracks in their facade. Your rise inspires questions and doubts among those who once supported them. People start to turn away, aligning themselves with your vision of authenticity and strength. Your first triumph is in how you build. Alliances are forged quietly, not for show but for purpose. You don't waste energy boasting about your progress. Instead, you focus on gathering resources, strengthening bonds, and preparing for the inevitable moment when your rise becomes undeniable. Every small step you've taken has added to a foundation that is now unshakable. As your empire grows, loyalties begin to shift. People who once stood with your enemies are now turning toward you. They see the difference between a regime built on lies and an empire rooted in truth. Your strength inspires them. Your vision calls to something deep within them, and they realize that their loyalty has been misplaced. They are drawn to your authenticity, your unwavering sense of purpose, and the justice you represent. Your enemies are not just losing power, they are losing the faith of those they relied upon, leaving them increasingly isolated. This is why your silence was so important. It wasn't avoidance or fear, it was strategy. You've ensured that when the time came, your enemies would be caught off guard, unprepared, and defenseless against the magnitude of your rise. The terror they feel is not simply because you've broken the silence. It's because of the quiet power you built during it. It's the realization that they never truly understood you, that you were moving in ways they couldn't see, and that now it is too late for them to recover. As a vision beyond oppression, what you build is not merely a reaction to oppression or injustice. It is a proactive alignment with a divine purpose. Your enemies rely on fear to maintain their control, but fear is fleeting. Truth, the bedrock of God's creation, endures forever. As John 8 verse 32 reminds us, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Your rise is not just a triumph over adversity, it is the unfolding of a divine narrative in which you are called to play a vital role. The strength you display is not your own but stems from the Lord. In silence and stillness you have waited, prayed, and prepared. That silence was not weakness, it was divine strategy. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Psalm 37:7. Now, as the weight of what you've built begins to shift the world, it becomes evident that your quiet obedience was the very soil in which God's transformative work took root. History offers a reflection of what you're accomplishing. Take the story of Joan of Arc. She was once dismissed, her visions ridiculed, her potential ignored. Yet she rose quietly, gathering support and inspiring an army that would change the destiny of a nation. Like her, you too are rising. Your power is not rooted in earthly wealth, privilege, or status, but in the unshakable foundation of faith that aligns with God's eternal plan and transforms everything it touches. This conviction, born from trust in God's promises, becomes a light that draws others to your cause. With each step you take, your foundation strengthens, and your vision expands not for personal gain, but for the greater glory of His kingdom. As Psalm 37 verse 5 declares, commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. This version reshuffles the paragraphs for a logical progression while preserving the emotional impact and thematic consistency of the original text. Let me know if any adjustments are needed. It's a shift in loyalties. As you rise, something extraordinary begins to happen. Those who once opposed you or aligned themselves with falsehoods start to reconsider their allegiances. The authenticity and strength of your faith compel them to question the shaky foundations on which they have stood. This shift is not born of manipulation, but is a natural response to the truth you embody, a truth that resonates deeply with the longing in every human heart. People are instinctively drawn to greatness when it is rooted in humility and divine purpose. Your unwavering commitment to God's justice and truth sets you apart from the false leaders they once followed. As Romans 12 verse 2 advises, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Consider the transformation of the Apostle Paul. Once a persecutor of Christians, his encounter with Christ on the road to Damascus completely changed his allegiance. He became one of the greatest champions of the gospel, demonstrating that no heart is beyond the reach of God's truth. Like Paul, your rise will inspire others to turn away from old loyalties and embrace a higher calling. It's a call to unity and collective purpose. Your rise is not a solitary act, but a call to arms for all who seek God's justice. By sharing your light, you ignite a collective awakening among those who have also been underestimated and oppressed. This is not about one person's triumph, but about the fulfillment of God's plan for his people. As 1 Corinthians 12 verse 12 reminds us, just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. The unity you inspire transcends earthly divisions. It is rooted in the recognition that God's truth is universal, calling people from every walk of life to stand together in faith and purpose. This unity reflects the ultimate vision of God's kingdom, where all are equal and all are loved. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Galatians 3 verse 28. Redemption and transformation. The process of shifting allegiances is not easy. It requires people to confront uncomfortable truths about the systems they have supported and their own complicity in perpetuating injustice. Yet your authenticity provides them with a path forward, a path not of condemnation but of redemption. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17. By standing with you, they find not only redemption but also the opportunity to contribute to something greater, a movement rooted in justice, truth and empowerment. This is the work of God's kingdom, transforming hearts and minds to align with his will. Your rise becomes a beacon, showing others that their past mistakes do not define them. Instead, they are invited into a story of renewal and hope. As Isaiah 61 verse 3 proclaims, the Lord will provide a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Building an empire of faith and truth. Your empire is not one of land or influence, it is an empire of ideas and faith, a testament to the power of those who refuse to be defeated by the noise of the world. While the enemies of righteousness falter, scrambling to maintain their illusions of control, you stand firm, anchored in God's truth. This is a new era, not built on human ambition but on the eternal principles of justice, mercy, and love. As Micah 6:8 commands, he has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. Your vision is not for yourself alone, but for all those who seek change, who long for a world that reflects God's righteousness. By embodying the light of Christ, you inspire others to join you, to rise with you. As Matthew 5 verse 16 encourages, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. From silence to purpose, God's preparation. Your silence was never a sign of weakness. It was a season of divine preparation, a period where God refined your heart, sharpened your vision, and equipped you for the challenges ahead. Isaiah 40 verse 31 offers reassurance in such times, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles, they will run and not grow weary, they will walk and not be faint. Your quiet endurance was not passive, it was an active alignment with God's timing, a sacred storm gathering strength for the appointed moment. Now, as you rise, the world cannot ignore the light that emanates from your journey. This is not merely a moment of reclaiming power, it is the fulfillment of a destiny ordained by God. Every challenge you faced, every moment of stillness, was part of His divine plan to bring you to this place. As Romans 8 verse 28 reminds us, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. A divine balance, justice and purpose. The rise of the silent believer sends ripples not only through the earthly realm but also through the spiritual realm, awakening others to their potential in God. Your courage, rooted in faith, and your unwavering truth become a beacon for those lost in despair. As you stand tall, you remind the world that God's plans are greater than our understanding. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 promises us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Through your steadfastness, others are reminded of their own purpose and their connection to the larger divine narrative. Your rise is not just about personal triumph, it is about inspiring others to recognize their God-given strength. This awakening is reminiscent of the lives of great figures in history, ordinary individuals who became vessels of extraordinary change through faith. Consider Joan of Arc, who emerged from obscurity to lead an army, driven by a divine vision. Her victories were not merely military but deeply spiritual, igniting hope and faith in a nation engulfed in darkness. Like Joan, your rise is a signal that even in the shadow of adversity, God's light will find its champions. Its divine timing and eternal purpose. Your rise is not merely the result of your efforts, but the unfolding of divine timing. Every moment of silence, every challenge you faced, was part of God's preparation for this moment. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1. Now, as you step into your purpose, you become a harbinger of a new age, bringing light into places long dominated by darkness. This rise is not just a shift in earthly power, but a profound alignment with God's cosmic order. It is a testament to His justice and sovereignty, a reminder that His plans cannot be thwarted. The Lord foils the plans of the nations, He thwarts the purposes of the peoples. But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of His heart through all generations. Psalm 33 verse 10 to 11. In conclusion, a light in the darkness. As you rise, you fulfill a sacred calling to be a light in the darkness, a reflection of God's eternal truth. Those who once dismissed you will rally to your side, drawn by the undeniable power of your faith and the hope you bring. Your rise is not just a personal triumph, but a part of God's greater narrative, a testament to His justice, love, and redemption at work in the world. Through your journey, you demonstrate the truth of Romans 8 verse 28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. You are not just building an empire of ideas or influence, you are building a testament to God's unchanging truth, a beacon of hope that will inspire generations to come. Your rise is living proof that no matter how entrenched oppression and falsehood may seem, the power of integrity, faith, and divine purpose will always prevail. You are a testament to the eternal truth found in Micah 6 verse 8. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Your journey is not merely personal, it is a reflection of God's cosmic balance, His unwavering justice, and His call to each of us to step into the roles He has prepared for us in His divine plan. Redefining power through faith. Your rise also redefines what it means to hold power. Unlike the power wielded through fear or manipulation, yours is rooted in the principles of Christ's humility, service, and truth. Jesus Himself modeled this form of power when He said, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant." Matthew 20 verse 26. You embody this higher calling, standing as a beacon of resilience and purpose for those who seek a better world. This kind of power terrifies those who underestimated you. They see now that their strategies, built on worldly principles, are no match for the divine strength you have cultivated. Yet for those who long for hope and justice, your rise is a lifeline, a reminder that God's kingdom operates on a foundation of truth that cannot be shaken. A catalyst for collective awakening. Your rise transcends your individual story. It is a catalyst for collective transformation. Just as a single spark can ignite a fire, your journey inspires others to step into their own light, embracing their God-given purpose. This is the rebalancing of scales, a spiritual awakening that reminds the world of God's unyielding justice and love. The ripple effect of your rise reaches those who once doubted their own strength. They see in you a reflection of what is possible when one walks in alignment with God's will. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5 verse 14. Your courage encourages others to trust God's promises and to rise from their own places of silence and preparation. It's a call to step into the light. Your story is a call to action for all believers. It reminds us that we are part of a divine plan and that our silence, when aligned with God's purpose, is a powerful preparation for what is to come. Ephesians 2 verse 10 affirms this truth, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. As you rise, the world watches, and through your example, others are inspired to step into their own light. Your resilience and faith serve as a roadmap for those who feel lost, showing them that God's timing is perfect and His plans are good. A legacy beyond time. As the silent believer rises, a legacy is forged that transcends time. Your story is no longer just your own, it becomes part of God's greater narrative, a testament to His faithfulness and power. Psalm 145 verse 4 speaks to this. One generation commends your works to another. They tell of your mighty acts through your journey. You leave behind a legacy that will inspire generations to trust in God and to stand firm in their faith. Your rise is not just a momentary victory, but a reflection of the eternal. It calls people to re-examine their lives, their values, and their allegiances. Even those who once stood against you are drawn to the authenticity and truth you embody. This transformation is not through force, but through the undeniable power of faith, just as Christ's love draws us to Him. Conclusion: a journey of faith fulfilled. Your rise is a testament to the truth that God's purposes cannot be thwarted. It is a fulfillment of His promises and a reflection of His glory. As the silent believer who has stepped into their purpose, you are a beacon of hope, courage, and divine justice. Through your journey, the world is reminded of the words in Isaiah 60 verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." The silent believer has risen, and with that rise, the world is forever changed. This is not just your time, it is God's time, a moment for His truth to shine through you, inspiring others to trust in Him and to embrace the divine calling He has placed on their lives. May your journey continue to ripple through time, touching hearts and transforming lives, all for the glory of His name.